You can't even pay your own rent, Christy. What have you done with your life? Dad's voice sliced through the laughter like glass. Mom joined in, lips curling into a smirk. You're almost 30, still living like a child. Maybe if you'd married someone successful, we wouldn't have to be embarrassed at family dinners. If your own family has ever mocked you, stay till the end because this one's going to sting. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For a moment, the room went quiet. Then my brother Nate laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. Come on, Mom. She's just figuring things out. Maybe she'll be useful by 40. His wife, Emma, giggled behind her wine glass like it was all some kind of joke. My fingers trembled beneath the table, but I didn't say a word. I smiled instead, because none of them had any idea what was coming. They thought I was broke. Desperate. The quiet, harmless daughter who never amounted to anything. But for the last 2 years, while they were busy laughing at my little online projects, I'd been quietly building something far bigger than any of them could imagine. While they mocked, I was signing 6-figure contracts, owning something powerful enough to change all our lives. Tonight wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. Dad leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his gaze cold and heavy. You've always been the disappointment, he said. Your brother took risks. You just played it safe and stayed poor. I looked up, meeting his eyes. My voice didn't shake. Are you sure about that? The room froze. Nate scoffed. Oh, please, Christy. What do you even do all day? Post motivational quotes and call it work. I smiled slowly, letting the moment stretch. Funny thing about success, I said. It doesn't always announce itself loudly. Mom frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I leaned back in my chair, calm and steady. It means the one you all called useless might just be the reason this family still has a house to sit in tonight. Their laughter died instantly. Forks froze midair. For the first time, they actually looked at me like they were seeing me for the first time. Dad's voice dropped, low and tense. What do you mean by that, Christy? I took a breath. Let's just say that loan you took last year. You might want to know who signed the final approval. His face paled. The cracks were beginning to show. Dad's hand tightened around his glass. What are you talking about? He demanded. Mom's fake smile vanished, and even Nate's smirk faded. I'm saying, I replied slowly, the bank didn't approve your loan because of your credit. They approved it because someone vouched for you. Someone with enough revenue and influence to back it. I paused. That someone was me. Nate let out a nervous laugh. You? Christy, you don't even have a real job. Yeah, I said, leaning forward, voice calm but sharp. That's what you've always believed, right? That my business was just a hobby. That my long nights meant nothing. You thought I was wasting my life while you built your so-called career. He rolled his eyes. Stop pretending you're some secret millionaire. I chuckled softly. Pretending? You really think a hobby pays for 2 offices in downtown Seattle? The room went still. Mom blinked rapidly, disbelief flickering across her face. You're lying, she whispered. You don't even have a car. That's because I don't need one, I said calmly. I own 3 company vehicles and an entire delivery fleet. Dad's jaw clenched. This is ridiculous, he snapped. What are you trying to prove? I met his eyes, steady and cold. Nothing. You all spent years calling me lazy, useless, and stupid. I stayed quiet because I didn't need your approval. But tonight, I'm done being silent. Nate leaned forward, his voice low and mocking. If you're so successful, where's the proof? I smiled, slow and knowing. Funny you should ask. I reached into my purse and placed a set of silver keys on the table. Everyone froze. That's for the new house, I said quietly. The one I just bought. Mom blinked. A house. I tilted my head. Correction, a mansion. 5 bedrooms, Lakeview, paid in full. The color drained from her face. She looked at Dad, searching for words, but I wasn't done. Remember when you said no one in this family would ever rely on me? I smiled faintly. Turns out you already have. Nate scoffed, crossing his arms. You expect us to believe this? You're lying just to embarrass us. I leaned forward, my tone calm but sharp. Embarrass you? You did that to me for years. Publicly. Constantly. I paused, letting silence do the talking. But the funny thing about underdogs, we always rise when you least expect it. Dad clenched his fists. You're bluffing. Am I? I whispered. Check the name on your mortgage. His eyes widened. He fumbled for his phone, scrolling with trembling hands. The silence thickened. Then he stopped. His face went pale. Your name, it's on the deed, he stammered. Mom gasped, her fork clattering onto the plate. Nate's smirk vanished. Impossible, he breathed. How did you even get that kind of money? I smiled, a quiet confidence in my voice. While you were busy mocking me for not having a real job, I was building something real. The app One launched 2 years ago. It's now one of the top freelance platforms in the country. We just crossed 1 million users last month. Mom's lips trembled. 1 million? Yeah, I said softly. And every time someone lands a job, I earn a cut. Nate scoffed, desperate. You're lying. You've always been dramatic. I didn't argue. I just opened my banking app and slid my phone across the table. He stared. His jaw dropped. The screen reflected in his wide eyes. More zeros than he'd ever seen in his life. Dad's voice cracked. How could you keep this from us? I met his gaze, calm and cold. Because when I had nothing, you all laughed. When I tried, you called it a joke. You only cared when it benefited you. So I stopped explaining myself. The room grew heavier. Mom whispered. We were just trying to push you to do better. By calling me useless? I asked softly. By comparing me to Nate every single day? I shook my head. You didn't push me, you crushed me. But the more you crushed, the stronger I became. Nate's wife, Emma, spoke up quietly. But if you're doing so well, why humiliate your family? I turned toward her slowly. This dinner wasn't about family, I said. It was about control. Another chance to mock me in front of everyone. You invited me here to put me down. I came here to end that. Dad's eyes narrowed. End what? This game, I said firmly. The one where you pretend to hold power. From today, everything changes. I'm not the weak one anymore. Nate sneered. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said, standing up. It makes me free from you. Silence fell. Only the ticking clock filled the air. I reached for my purse, ready to leave. Christy, wait, Mom's voice cracked. I turned, meeting her teary eyes. You said I was a burden, I said softly. Now you're sitting in my house, eating food bought with my money, and still calling me useless. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I gave her a faint, bittersweet smile. Dinner's over. I turned toward the door. Christy, wait. Dad called, his voice trembling. We need to talk. I paused for a second. Now you want to talk? I said quietly. Funny how that only happens when you finally realize who's really in control. And with that, I walked out, leaving behind the family that once called me nothing, to live in the house they now called mine. I stepped out into the freezing night air, feeling truly free for the first time in years. But I had no idea that this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 10 missed calls from Mom. A message from Nate. We need to talk. It's about the house. My stomach turned. That tone, I knew it too well. Whenever they couldn't break me emotionally, they'd try to break me legally. When I went downstairs, I found it. A white envelope taped to my door. My name printed on top. I tore it open and my blood ran cold. It was a legal notice. A petition from my own family, accusing me of fraud, claiming I'd stolen their property. I laughed bitterly. So this is what family means now, I muttered. Then my phone rang. Dad. Christy, we didn't want it to come to this, he said, trying to sound calm. But you tricked us. You're trying to humiliate your own blood. I didn't trick anyone, I said flatly. You just can't stand that I made it without you. Then prove it, he snapped. Court's in 2 days. Bring your evidence. The line went dead. My hands trembled, not from fear but from fury. My own family was dragging me to court over the house they mocked me for buying. For 2 sleepless nights, I gathered everything: bank records, contracts, wire receipts. My lawyer, Mason, kept saying, Relax, Christy. They have nothing. They're bluffing. But deep down, I knew better. My family didn't need truth, they just needed pride. When the day came, the courtroom felt colder than the night I left. My parents sat together, heads high. Nate beside them wearing that same smug grin. He whispered something to Dad and they both laughed. I sat down quietly, refusing to flinch. Mason leaned over and murmured, "Let them speak first. They'll dig their own grave." The judge entered. Nate's lawyer stood dramatically. "Your Honor," he began, "this woman deceived her aging parents and illegally took their home." Mom started pretending to cry. Dad followed with fake tears. It was theater and they were the stars. "Miss Christie," the judge said, turning to me, "how do you plead?" "Not guilty," I said clearly. No shake in my voice this time. They presented their evidence. Fake emails, doctored screenshots, even edited text messages. Every lie stung like a knife, but Mason only whispered, "Let them finish. Watch." Finally our turn. Mason stood calm and confident. "Your Honor, my client is the rightful owner, and we can prove it in 10 seconds. The room went silent. Nate's smirk faded. Mason opened a thin folder and held up a stamped document. "This," he said, "is the original purchase deed. Full payment made by wire transfer. From my client's verified business account." He turned toward my father. "Mr. Thompson, would you like to explain why you signed this acknowledgement letter? Thanking your daughter for saving your mortgage?" Dad's color drained. The judge leaned forward. "Did you sign this?" I don't recall," Dad stammered. "Then let's refresh your memory," Mason said, hitting play on a video clip. There it was. Dad shaking my hand, smiling, saying, "Thank you for saving our home." Gasps filled the room. The judge's voice hardened. "So you lied under oath?" Mom turned to him in panic. "Richard, say something." But he just sat frozen. Nate jumped up, slamming his hand on the table. "This proves nothing." "Oh, it proves everything," Mason said coolly. "And one more thing. Your company emails show you tried to forge the ownership transfer last night." The courtroom erupted. Nate's face turned crimson. "You can't prove that." Mason tapped the folder. "Already did. The timestamps match your fake document." The judge slammed the gavel. "Case dismissed. Property belongs to Miss Christie, and I strongly advise the rest of you to stay away from her." The air felt lighter as I exhaled. My parents wouldn't look at me. Nate stormed out, muttering curses. Outside, the sunlight hit my face like freedom itself. Mason smiled. "You handled that like a pro." I smiled back faintly. "No," I said. "I just stopped letting them tell my story." A vibration buzzed in my hand. A message from Dad. "We just wanted you to come home." I stared at it for a long second, then deleted it. Some homes aren't worth returning to, because that night they called me worthless. And today the world saw exactly who held the power.